All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Wednesday, April 29th. Let's go. Let's go. All right, everything looks like it's up and running. Looks good. White House official, Trump and oil companies discuss steps to continue the Iran blockade for months if needed. Okay. Sure. He's going to destroy Western economies in the process. Anyways, good morning, everyone. It is Fed Day. Everyone is looking forward to Fed comments this afternoon, whether or not they're going to accelerate their rate cutting regimen in light of the war in Iran, economic setbacks, price of oil, yada, yada, yada. So the market kind of did what we expected to do yesterday. We didn't trade it very well, but yeah, it fell right back into balance. So we've been talking about this balance between kind of 170 and 150 here. The market found balance in last week. They tested lower, rejected twice, came back into balance, tested higher, found some balance, but now we've come back into the composite balance range between 170 and 150. Taking a look at the weekly distribution, this doesn't look like a very clean distribution here between 150 and 170. So I do suspect I don't want to make too many predictions based on distribution shape for the rest of the day, but there is a potential that we just range today, at least in the morning, between 170-ish, mid 170s and 150. Like the bottoms and tops of this weekly distribution right here look pretty clean. This looks to be a complete auction, but everything in between does not look like we've finished our business. So let's see where the flow kind of takes us this morning. I don't want to be too aggressive that it is Fed Day. I don't imagine institutions are really going to be taking much position today. All economic releases have come out for the morning, so everyone just sits and waits for the Fed statement at 2:30, more so than the actual rate. So market is open. Let's see where this cash session wants to take things. Don't want to be too aggressive too early. Again, we're right, like pretty smack dab in the middle of this balance range. So I think today we favor more scalp trades back to the mean, back to the POC, out of value, back to value. But let's kind of see where the flow takes us. I mean, there have been Fed mornings where the market actually does trend. So I don't want to box myself into a corner thinking like the market has to do just one thing today, and that's the only possibility. There's many possibilities as to what the market is going to do today. So let's just sit and watch for a little bit, see how the opening auction and the opening range kind of develops here, see if there's any sort of opening drive move. Imbalance on S&P is negative 50 million. That is nothing. Statistically insignificant, so do not worry about that number this morning. But at the open, drive down, opened up around 163, it looks like. Volume coming in at the lows here in the mid 150s, lift in price. Like I probably want to see it lower down towards like 152 before I would be interested, I think, in buying that move. I mean, it is pretty clean here at this little 156 ledge. All right, this is pretty clean right here on the weekly distribution. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Like we got to see if any large orders come in, which none have come in at the open, see what kind of range develops here. See if any absorption comes in. See where the market quickly rejects from, where it likes to spend time, and then we'll take it from there. Like I gotta imagine the market really doesn't want to go below 150 today. Doesn't seem plausible. Volume coming in here at the lows is still holding price down a little bit. For a moment, it was rejecting price, but now it seems to be just, we're good. It likes it down here. So let's see what kind of order flow we get down here at 150s, 152 to be precise, 152 and a half. Seller at 155 after the open. It wasn't a market on open order. It was after for 250 contracts at 155 at 931. And it's like right here. So let's see if a lot of volume comes in below that and see if we can't push above that. I don't necessarily want to buy like the first signs of absorption or the first signs of positive order flow down here. So value is now shifted down. POC around 155. Again, I just want the market to develop some range first. See if any more institutional orders kind of come in. I mean, we've had this one at 155 now that he's kind of underwater. This doesn't seem very clean here. It's kind of jagged, a little all over the place. I got to imagine the market's going to revisit that. I want to zoom out here on the weekly. Yeah, we're like smack dab in the middle of the range from yesterday. A little bit up towards the low side, but no real key reference points, I don't think. So again, the first signs of seller absorption, there was flashes of buyer absorption down here at the bottom, but it didn't hold. And just let's see how much volume was in the first minute. 13,000, just under 14,000 contracts traded in the first minute. Pretty decent. That's actually pretty decent size for a Fed morning. So absorption is now holding. It looks like it's a pretty significant number. Pretty heavy print. That's a lot of contracts to absorb. Another seller at 155 that got absorbed. So heavy volume here at 155. It's going to be a little bit of an inflection point, I think, for the moment. So again, some signs of the buyer absorption here at the lows. I really don't want to speculate on any longs or shorts at the moment. Where we are within the composite range favors longs rather than shorts. Because we're talking about this composite range potentially between 150 and 170. You're at the low end of that range right now. So unless you break out of this range, I don't think it's a good short trying to short this and think that you're going to break the bottom of this range. I mean, this balanced range stuck around for a week. It's pretty well developed. So more signs of sellers stepping in. Yeah, a little more flashes of the absorption up there in the 157, 156s. PLC still remains around 155. Not a whole lot of movement this morning so far. Very tight range, 65 down to 152. So 13-point range so far this morning. It's pretty light. See if we can break this seller absorption here. I got to imagine if today is a range day, you're going to see absorption broken on both sides. Sellers will be broken, buyers will be broken. So absorption doesn't become a very reliable number. And just hanging out here around 155. Market seems a little comfortable here at the moment. All right, here's the opening volume at 163 that pushed the market down. There's a volume void here. So curious to see what happens as you come up on the lower end of that volume at 161 3/4. So failing to make it out of value, pretty quick rejection out of value back into value. Volume came in right in the top of the value area high. And for the moment is holding down price. And you're trying to break those sellers right there. There's some sellers interested at 158. Another seller at 155. Jeez Louise. And then some huge sizes here. 488, 538, 229. That is some huge volume right there at the POC. If we come down here and just like cannot get below this, and all these sellers are trapped at 155 with all this size, like, that's a lot of size there at 155 at one price. I mean, they potentially could just get trapped here, right? They were not selling on the way down. Hmm. It's interesting. It's interesting. So much size at one price level, and it all got absorbed. When I mean absorbed, thinking about how the market moves one tick up or one tick down. If you have 200 contracts for offer and I buy 300, but price does not tick up, that means there was 100 behind the 200 willing to come in and refresh that offer, and then price doesn't move like a tick. So there was plenty of people passively buying at 155. Now you had a buyer coming at 155.50 and kind of flipped this. Yeah, I kind of just want to do a little whoa, whoa. Why would it? Why is it confirming? Group strategy confirmed. Your group trade has been placed successfully. It's never shown that before. Why would it do that? All right, so 58 and a quarter, just because of this 155 level, we're resisting it. Absorption's coming in. There's a ton of sellers here that got absorbed. I'll put a stop at 151 for now. Ideally, I want us to break out of this range and come back and retest it to add. We're not in a great spot here for our long, honestly. It's too high of a price. The volume that's coming in here is kind of mixed. So this whole trade thesis is literally just like an order flow trade based off these 155 sellers that all got absorbed and now are trapped. Because that's a very large size. They all got absorbed. So this really doesn't have much to do with auction theory or a balanced range or anything. This is just order flow, sellers being trapped potentially. But you want to see rejections of this now. We don't want to hang out here. But I'm just going to keep it a quarter position for now. I don't want to load up so early, especially because we have yet to really break the sellers here at 158. And we're literally right in at this price, 58 and a quarter. I didn't limit it. I was just like, hey, let's just get in. All right, because there's a potential for this to break with this is large size trapped here, folks. Like if they have to cover, it could have just been a liquidity need. They, got the price they were looking for and they just filled their liquidity needs at 155 and it's not a positional type deal. But if it is positional, things start to move up against them. You might have to start covering based on that size. I don't know. It seems feasible though, but plenty of seller activity here. So keeping stop loose with 151. See what happens if we try to drift back down towards 155. All right, so you had the one buyer at 55.50 for 180 contracts, just about 179. We're spending a lot of time here. These overlapped rotations, like you can easily go 160 to 152. Like, because I'm looking at the overlapping ranges on like kind of the weekly chart here. It just doesn't seem very favorable for a long at the moment. So just keep it small and see what happens. And see if any other contracts get filled at 155, especially any large orders. Volume coming in at the POC, kind of lifting you away. That's good. More absorption. That's good. There's a very tight range here. You're getting absorption on both sides. So that's good. But I want to break this range. I'm not going to load up within this range until I get confirmation that we can break this range and hold it. So we'll just sit with the long at 58.25, stop all the way down at 51. I would really think that the market can't make it back down there. Like, it seems like we're kind of quickly rejecting. Anytime we come down here, the volume instantly comes in and lifts price a little bit. So we want to continue to see that trend. We don't want to see volume come in and suppress price here, especially anywhere down here by the POC. If volume comes in here and price holds below, then we'll look to get out on a rotation, I think, and then reevaluate. All right, this is just like a little bit of a stab. We're just taking a little bit of a stab this morning, just based off these orders trapped at 155, potentially trapped at 155. All right, that's not ideal, right? So let's give this a little wiggle. The volume, can you hear suppress price, held price down, kind of suppressed price. I mean, this is pretty bearish flow up here in the 157, 158. So you need this to change. Yeah, seller absorb lower. Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous about this. All right, the flow is just not getting us out. So I'll see if we can't rotate out 155. You know, I do want to kind of, let's see where we finish with this volume here. What time is it? Where's the time? 4 seconds. Yeah, I want to rotate out, I think. Try to get 54. I really don't want to get stopped at 51. Yeah, yeah, we're going to, though. Damn it. All right. All right. Here we go. And those sellers at 55 are able to hold. Yeah, see, I didn't want to get stopped at 151. But all the volumes coming in and still kind of holding down prices. So this isn't a long now. All right, we took a little stab. All right, let's start to see what happens once we get down here at the 150, because now the distribution gets pretty clean. All right, you see a lot of positive order flow coming in here. I think it's a good long at 150. But we need to see some positive order flow to make that decision. And now you got this little bit of a low volume area, which can become typical of highs and lows, right? It breaks down from the previous range, leaves a low volume gap, builds volume below it. But then when it comes up to kind of resist this, it can't resist it and moves right through it and then resists it on the other side. Or possibly it'll just rotate into it and fill it in. I gotta keep my news open. Bank of Canada is talking. Not really impactful for American markets usually. Yeah, I think we're just filling in this low volume area. So you're getting the feels of a normal distribution here, forming between 160 and 150, kind of, sort of, which can be kind of expected, right? So there was no large sellers or buyers on that move down. All right, we tested below this range, quickly came back into the range. Maybe if we test back down towards the lows of the range, This will be the scalp opportunity. If you get volume to come in here and lift price, it's not good that the volume came in right in the middle of value and pushed you back. All right, they're trying to push you out of this range. Looks like they're going to be successful. Yeah, pushed you right back out of that range. Yep, no longs. No longs there, folks. Be patient. Being patient. So we've broken some buyer absorption. Sellers are absorbing at slightly lower levels. Not really any large transactions outside the ones that happened around 155. The volume that's coming in is still holding prices down. It's not rejecting price. So you still don't have any bullish order flow down here. No quick rejections off these lows. It is possible that we're just extending the range a little bit. This isn't like a breakdown of the range and then back into the range. This is just all now just one giant range. It's still a little too early to tell though. Yeah, if you look at the weekly, I mean, look how smooth this is now getting down here. Right? We could just be filling in this 154 area before moving away from this. There could just be a little more business that needs to be transacted here. So a lot of activity on the offer here, trying to get back into value, not able to get back into value. Like from an order flow perspective, like the part of you really just wants to short this. Right. But you know, the composite balance range here from last week is like, oh, it's a tough sell, I think. Right, but you cannot get back into value here, and you can't get back into this previous range. You quickly reject all the volume that comes in, pushes you right back out. Not really getting strong buyer absorption numbers here at the lows. What was that? 40. It's right there. So let's kind of see what happens here at this 155 because they were not able to break things down. Like I think we now pop, right? Volume came in at 155. You're not going to get a 155 fill. You probably get a 156 fill though. All right, I'll shoot for 156. This is a strong rejection. Let's see if we can't get in at 156 limit. Stop 149 for now. No, we're rotating into 156. I am not getting filled. There we go. Thank you. That's just the worst thing is when you do try to take a position, you can't get filled on rotations in. So let's see what happens with this volume here, whether or not it can hold up price. Okay, you don't want to see this come back down now again below the POC after you've done this, right? You don't really want to see anything attempting to get outside of value here. You don't want to see anything down below 155 now. Like, let's start pulling away. Let's break this range. Let's come back and then test the top side of this range. Right, let's get the move up to the top side of the composite range of 170. That's really what I'm looking for right now. Good resistance to 150 here. Stayed above the volume. I'm entertaining putting on a second piece here. Just because I kind of like what I'm seeing with the flow. As long as we quickly reject this. I mean, we don't want to see this volume come down here and stay below this at all. All right, you're not quickly rejecting it. And this isn't the greatest bullish flow down here, honestly. And I don't want to get overly obsessive about this 155 inflection point just based off of large ordering. And the fact that you're not quickly rejecting this, yeah, we're not going to add a second piece. Not here. I'll wait for a break of the range and a retest. So just sit on it. And sellers were able to meet you at slightly lower prices, ever so slightly. Buyers are trying to hold the PLC. That's a good sign. But we want to break this range in a retest to add. Based off where our entry is at 156, I'm not going to move it to break even if we get strong resistance here. I'll move it to break even on a break, because I think this would be a little deep into this range to revisit if we make a clean break of this. So buyer 160. Buyer just came in at 160. And that's probably going to mark the high. Fucker. At the top of this, 157. I mean, I'll cut risk to 152. Right? Because coming down here would just absolutely negate this trade. Anything held below the POC absolutely negates this trade. No, we got to give this some room here, because this can easily test back into value here, and we're like literally right at the POC, right near the mean with our trade. So you don't want to come back into this range, folks. You don't want a lot of volume coming in here and then quickly put you back in this range. And see what happens if the market, and that was a heavy absorption print right there, 500. Let's see what happens if we come back into value, the top of this range, kind of sort of, and get heavy absorption, and price can quickly move out. That might be more of an add, because then you're at top of this kind of range here. But this is like kind of the range that we're really focused on, this 158 level. Whether or not the market can hold above it. You want to accelerate and push away from this. You want the sellers to just be really fearful and to really start panicking. Those make the best moves. Like the slow grind higher keeps sellers hopeful. But if it starts just moving with some speed, people will exit pretty quickly. All right, we'll go 56 and a quarter on the stop. We're moving far enough outside this range now. So now I want to see a test back into kind of this range, this 58. I want a quick rejection. We got a quick rejection of 158. We'll add. News. Keep the news open. Pete Hegseth is testifying about the military budget, well, which is just always preposterous. So if you want to see where all of our taxpayer money goes to, have fun. All right, getting a pretty good move away here. It's kind of what we were hoping for. Stop is still at 56 and a quarter. With this volume here should be protective. So we'll do 158. 158 on the stop, entry at 56. I do plan to add to this. If we get down and test this like 59, 58 range high right here. This is what I'm looking for. I don't want to just add up here and start chasing things. You're getting some bullish flow. The volume is lifting price out of here. You've broken the sellers, the massive absorption at 155. Those guys got trapped if it was a positional type trade or directional type trade, rather, not positional. But let's see if the market can come back and test this volume here at 160 and 159, 158. Will be the curious area. And honestly, like the top that I'm looking for and any of this move is going to be near 170, I would think. So let's see what happens when we come down here. If we add some volume and just can't get back into value, I would like a test of value. I would like a test of 159, even with our stop at 158. If this is strongly bullish, I don't think you break the top of this range, right? Where all the sellers were absorbing. But I could be absolutely wrong, right? We just flush right back into value and then maintain this range could absolutely happen right now. Absolutely. Right. And you're starting to get that impression that it might actually just happen. Here's your inflection point at 159. Can't really hold this, then forget it. We're coming right back into value and we'll get stopped at 158, which is fine. Yeah, it's coming right back in, folks. Hold, but it wasn't a quick rejection. You would have suspected if buyers were really interested in here and the volume came in just ever so slightly lower that this isn't really a bullish signal that you're getting right here at all. And so I'm okay with the 158 stop because the order flow right here isn't telling me like this really wants to pop higher. And we're just like kind of extension the range a little bit higher, a little bit lower, right? New high, new lows. Get everyone suckered. And we got to remember that we're really in today for scalped ranges. Right. So I think like 170, 171 should be like the top of our range today. I don't like this really, honestly. This isn't like just screaming bullish to me. Right now, the volume came in here and held things down. Yeah, you just want to get out. So we'll see if you can't rotate out to 160, but we'll get stopped at 158, likely, I think. Yep, filled. And it fills it before it even fucking rotates into it. And then watch a bunch of volume come in here right in value at the top of this and just fucking lift you. Yeah. Like it's very easy to think that like once you break a range, you're just gonna explode and it'll be the easiest thing ever. It's just no. Right? It literally could do this all day now. You make a new high, you make a new low, make a newer high, make a newer low, and just everyone gets fucked. That can happen. Yeah, all the volume's coming in, it's just suppressing price still. So let's see if we can't get another in at the lows here. Maybe we create a new low, and then that'll be another entry for us. But only got 2 points out of that last trade. Not great. Not great. No new news. Bank of Canada speaking at 9:46. That was it. Yeah, if you notice where we came up to, right where the bottom of that volume is, right at the open. This is the opening volume right here between 162 and 165. And the market came right up to that volume and came back down. There are sellers there. So trying to resist the POC here a little bit. Market is trying. I think it's more likely you revisit these lows than you do revisit these highs. Potentially you come and try to test the value area high before you reject down and test the value area low. Right, because where the volume is coming in here is holding down price, right? Volume came in here, pushed price down. Volume came down here, held down price. Volume's coming up here, is trying to hold down price. It does get curious though. All right, because instinctively, like something is telling me, like I want to be long here, but I don't logically base that we're in value. We've tried this 155 trade before. If we're in a scalping environment, it's not generally a good idea to take a trade right in the middle of value near the point of control and hoping to get out of value. It's a very exact opposite. You should be fading out of value and trading back towards value. So I don't think like there's some like pattern recognition part of my brain right now that says like, oh, this is a long, not a short. I think we need to override that because humans are very bad at pattern recognition. We think there's patterns everywhere, which none exist. And the volume's coming here, held down price. I think the better trade is the fade the value area high here and maybe look for a move back to the POC and potentially a retest of the value area low and the distribution low. I don't think the trade here is to get long the POC, even though like, right, you're struggling to get back within this prior range. You're struggling to get back near the POC. The volume that's coming in up here is a little mixed. Yeah, not sure what to do about, so I'm just gonna sit. Just gonna sit. I don't want to short this here. You're getting the impression that sellers are about to be broken. Could be absolutely wrong about that. No large activity. I'm gonna kick myself. I mean, distributively, very normalized distribution for the day. So we have conflicting signals right now, and I think the best thing to do is when you have the situation is just to be a little extra patient. We have a normal distribution for the day. We're sitting right in the middle of a composite distribution range from last week between 160 and 150. Yesterday, balance in this range, and this morning it looks like a very normal type distribution. All right, there's part of me that wants to sell this right here and look for a move down to 150. I think it's pretty risky though. I think it's pretty risky. Yeah, I don't get strong conviction with this market. And again, guys, it's Fed day, right? You have a lot of balance range on Fed days. I like to be hopeful that, you know, market is just going to break and do something super exciting. I'm probably going to kick myself for not fading this, I think. But I mean, you're struggling to get back into value once you've gotten outside of value here a little bit, right? We're wicking this. And the volume that's coming in up here isn't necessarily holding down price, right? You're really struggling to get back in here. Gosh darn it. Yeah, I think I want to buy on the hope of a break up to 170, I think. Yeah, we'll do it. 160 and a quarter. Stop 54 for now. Buyer just came in at 160 and got absorbed. That's probably not what you wanted to see right when you took the trade. Fucking assholes. But you want to pop out here now, right? This volume building right at the value area high. You're resisting getting back into value. You're resisting getting back into the prior range now after dipping back in, falling back outside. Right. I like the prospects here a little bit, but we're also fighting the distribution for the day and distribution for the week, and also that it's Fed day. So again, quarter position because we have some conflicting information here. This isn't a slam dunk probabilities trade, I don't think. So keep it light. I'm honestly, I'm just looking for a move up near 170, I think. I don't think you get any crazier than that, right? Towards where the POC was from yesterday, right at like 171-ish, right where this distribution node is. Right, I think that's as high as you can possibly get with this. The volume, you don't want to stay below the volume here, folks. Not at all. You want this POC to move down and then this volume to move, this price to move up. You don't want this right here at the value area high. So getting absorption numbers here. Buyers are willing to step in. All right, they're absorbing at higher prices. We've broken the major seller absorption here. All the sellers are still down at 155. Like, I think there's enough bullish order flow information that you can take a trade hoping for 170. Yeah, and I did say hope because there is a little bit of a hope with this. Because part of me just wants to fade value area high right now and look for value area low scalp trades, right? Just based off this distribution for the day. And now we're struggling to get outside of value, which is like great, guys. But the fact that you're overlapping the rotations right here at the value area high is bullish. So there's more of a bullish leaning with this flow at the moment than there is bearish. But again, you know, distributions, distribution shapes, normative behavior. Once if we can break this volume here, this opening volume, 163, 164s, then we'll move stops. If you can even break it. But sellers just might be absolutely freaking relentless here. So I'll let this play out a little bit. My eyes are burning. But let's see what happens. This is the inflection point for the morning now. This 163, 164, this is where the volume came in. Heavy volume at the open and pushed things down. How willing are they going to be to defend this? All right, volume came in, didn't necessarily reject price all the way, right? Kind of held it. That's better signs. But until we get really to 165, I don't really want to do anything with the stop, as we can easily just retest our entry point here. Very easily. Mm-hmm. You don't really want to make it back into value, folks. And you don't want volume to come back in at value and push things down. Like, it's okay that the volume kind of comes in here at the out of value and pushes you back down. Is that just now? 10, what time is it? No, that was 5 minutes ago. Okay. There's a large transaction at 160 that I got absorbed. I couldn't tell if it was just brand new or that was something that was sitting from before. Like, you want to see resistance here to this value area high now. It's okay that volume comes in here and pushes you down a little bit, but what you don't want is any volume coming in back within value that pushes you down. That negates the trade. But I want to see these sellers here at 163 and 164 capitulate. Give up. Give up, folks. Give up. and depending what happens at right here. A lot of activity on the offer. Volume coming in near the high. Not great. But if price stays kind of up here at 163, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like it. All right, stop the break even at 61. And just a quarter tick above. It could easily come back and stop us and still continue higher, right? Very easily. And we're kind of coming up on a low volume area on the weekly distribution at 165. And we're also coming up in the top of the opening range too. Very potentially, you just come up here, test right above this opening range, and then reject. Very possible. I feel like I need to go wipe my eyes. They're watering so bad. But stop to break even at 161 if it comes back and stops us out. I mean, this is a kind of what we're theorizing today, right? You just make higher highs and lower lows. And then anyone trying to take directional trades like us just gets, fucked. That's what happens. That's what happens in markets, folks. But I would like to see a push of 170 if we can get up to 170, honestly. If we come back down here to this like volume area right here and resist it, wick it, strong rejection, maybe add for a 5 to 6 point scalp. But keeping things light this morning, quarter positions. This isn't anything to get super excited about. God, I can't see it. I need to go wipe my eyes right back. Oh no. Oh no. I came back and did what I wanted it to do to add for my scalp. Oh no. Oh no. Shoot. No, that's protected volume now. So now your stop's at, what is this, 160, 162 and a half at least. And just struggling. All right, some volume coming in at 165, 166. This is kind of that gapped range from yesterday's close. Yesterday's close was somewhere above 170. So heavy absorption up here. Getting mixed signals on the flow. It's not completely bearish here, so that's bullish actually, right? Because we're at the top of the range. You expect bearish flow here to come in. You're not really getting that. If we get another test down and a wick looking just like this, we add, right? I wanted to add here, but I had to fucking step away to wipe my eyes. God damn it. So another buy at 166.75. That's like right at the highs. Hopefully that doesn't mark a swing high. The stop now is 162 and a half right here, right below this protective volume. Again, I don't think this is going to be like some sort of explosive trend, so I'm not being aggressive adding or anything. And it's Fed day. You're getting pretty strong resistance up here, though. And if I think like the top of this is potentially just like 170-ish. Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine. So let's see what happens. And volume comes in here and lifts price out. And then we'll add another piece on the hopes you do. I mean, yeah, to add to get to 170 though. I mean, we're breaking seller absorption, right? We resisted the top of this range. You got the volume to come in here, push things. All right, but now the volume's up here a little bit. So let's see where the volume comes in. If volume comes in here and lifts things out. All right, you don't want that. Yep, stopped. Okay. Watch all the volume coming in, lets it right back into this range. Jerks. News, nothing. Except it's still, doing the pony show in Congress. 5. Yeah, no, we're not entertaining a long here, I don't think. I think that'd be dumb. Not very convincingly breaking this area, right? This is where the sellers came in at the open. They took advantage of all the liquidity and sold into it. So buyers absorbing, but this wasn't a very quick rejection out of here, right? If buyers were very serious, they would just bought it up and lifted price right out of here, and they didn't. And you're getting pretty strong rejections up at 166, right above the previous swing highs, or at least the opening highs. I mean, there's a potential for buyer absorption to be broken here. I'm a little worried about the guy that bought right at the top here. Gosh darn it. Yeah, just sit and wait now. Sit and wait. Like we got stopped out to the tick. Ooh, bastards. Like, see, ES didn't even rotate into it. But MES did. Now we're back in value on the weekly. All right, the weekly value area low is 162. Well, let's see what happens up here with the sellers again. See if they're willing to defend this again. Yeah, well, just leave it alone for now. Don't do anything. Just sit and wait. We're close to the 170 top that we kind of thought we would get at. All right, the volume that's coming in is still suppressing price a little bit. So let's see where this finishes. I mean, if we get stopped out to like the tick on this and the market just explodes, it'd be so frustrating. So frustrating, folks. But volume's lifting. We're lifting, folks. We're lifting. We're trying to. We're trying to. I mean, that wasn't very convincing, was it? It finished right at where the volume is. See, it's at these points that you start debating, okay, well, should I now short this? Looking for a move back to the POC, 155. I don't like it just yet. So we're this far outside of value and we're just sitting beneath the distribution highs. It's probably not a great short. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. When you're resisting this prior range here now, it's bullish. I mean, they're really trying to make it out of here, man. They're trying. But I mean, look at this range today. 150 to 168 is so tight. So tight. But it's Fed funds day. And the closer you get to Fed funds, I mean, you're now like, 3.5 hours away. It's like the less activity there's going to be, the less likely it is for markets to trend. So the volume that's coming in here is still holding price. It's not resisting it, and it's not lifting it, but it's just holding it. So you get a little mixed flow right there at 167. The last buyer was still at 166 3/4. Not adding a ton of volume up here. Things are getting a little slow. So far the market is doing, kind of what we thought it would do. Test the lows of the weekly distribution range, 150. That looked clean. It rejected it. Now it's looking to test, probably up here, 170 to 175. You'll also find out that auction is also pretty clean. So sellers absorbing at higher prices, buyers are also absorbing at higher prices. That is bullish. That is bullish. Is it bullish? Bullish. Anybody do you chase longs up here? No, unfortunately. Even if the flow is positive, you're getting up close to a spot in the distribution that you may run into some problems. All right, there hasn't been a lot of price acceptance above 173-ish, 172. right there on the weekly distribution. All right, see how clean this is right here? This looks to be a complete auction. There shouldn't be much business to do up here. And all the volume that's coming in up here above the swing high, for the most part, has suppressed price. It is not lifting price. It's all suppressing price. Like, I'm getting vibes of a drop. Because the bulls are just very precariously, I mean, they've had dips, right? They've had dips to reload on. So the longs aren't super weak. They've been able to get in at good positions. They have some good structure at their back. These absorption prints aren't very heavy. We've broken all seller absorption, and I've resisted it pretty much on the other side so far this morning. So flow is bullish for the most part. We're kind of fighting the distributions though here a little bit. And the higher we get, the more volume the less volume we seem to get up here. U.S. Fed Chair nominee Warsh cleared by Senate banking panel, moves to full Senate vote. I don't really know much about Warsh. Feel like he's kind of young to be a Fed chairman, isn't he? Let's just look that up real quick because we're just kind of not doing anything at the moment. Back around on Fed. Let's see what his background is. He's only 56, went to Stanford, Harvard Law, merger and acquisition banker at Morgan Stanley. It's on the Bush administration, Fed governor from 2006 to 2011, Stanford, Harvard fellow. More, his policy lean, more traditional, wants less forward guidance and fewer press conferences. Likely reduced, he wants to reduce transparency. Skeptical of recent Fed policy. COVID area stimulus. Correct. That was dumb. Large balance sheet. That is also dumb. Correct. Support shrinking the Fed's bond holdings. Oh, that's good. Historically viewed as inflation focused, hawkish leaning. Open to alternative inflation measures. Trimmed mean. Not blindly dovish even below for cuts. What's his association with Trump? I mean, now you got this low volume area built near the highs. We talked about that phenomenon near the lows, right? You create this little low volume area as you swing below lows, as price moves up above it and comes back down to test it and then resist it. It signals a reversal. Likely changes from Powell, less communication, less predictable policy path. And I think that's appropriate, right? Data changes. I hate when they come out and say like, oh, for the remainder of the year, we're not rate cutting or doing anything like that. Like, how do you know? How do you know? Right? Things change on a dime. Trump invades a country, like that, takes the leader of a country like that. To say like, oh, no matter what, we're gonna, abide by this rate policy for the upcoming 12 months, I think is just fucking crazy. But you resisted this prior range. Look at all the volume that came in this low volume area, lifted you right out. Now you're coming up on what I would suspect is the terminus of this move up here near 171, 172, right on top of this distribution range. Then ultimately, I would suspect that you fall back down into this range and maybe start filling some of this in. But that's prediction based off distribution shape. Those aren't very reliable. All the activity up here is on the offer. you would prefer more of a mix if you wanted a super breakout, but we're breaking seller absorption still. Buyer absorption has not been broken since down here. Like, I'm not getting long, right? Just what we're seeing with the shape of this distribution, it just becomes more and more normalized. We're adding less and less volume the higher and higher we get. Like, the flow is bullish, but the levels that we're looking at now, the 172s, should be resistant, at least for a little bit. No large activity here at all. The last buyer was at 66 3/4, or all this volume is right here. So that's probably your inflection point. Right, I wouldn't want to short and do a mean reversion scalp trade until I saw that this area got inverted. If this area gets inverted and you resist it from the downside, 167s, 166s, then I would short it back to 155s. But now you're just slowly grinding higher, and we got our pretty much almost break even stop ticked out at 162.50, even though ES didn't rotate into it. But MES apparently did, or at least that's what they tell me. Because Trade of 8 is fucking stupid. It sucks. So I hate about these prop firms. They use fucking shitty brokers and shitty platforms. It could be a lot worse, though, honestly. Oh, crude inventories today were at 1030. Oh, drawdown of... Oh, that's a heavy drawdown. 6.23 million barrels, and they were only expecting a drawdown of less than 1. They're actually only expecting a drawdown on 0.2 million barrels. Wow, that's going to put pressure on oil prices. Yeah, oil's moving up. Was up 3% earlier, now it's up 5%. This goddamn grind higher right now is really annoying, especially because we got stopped right there at 62.50 and then really didn't have any good other place for entry. But this is the higher this gets, the more precarious it gets. Right? Bearish flow, bearish flow, bearish flow, bearish flow, bearish flow, bullish flow, neutral, bearish, bearish, bearish. All right, volume is not being supportive of price here, which kind of tells me we potentially could get a nice little drop here. But I need to go blow my nose in. Be right back. So still no buyers from 166 3/4. Do not want to just blindly sell a high. What was Bank of Canada? What time this morning? Problem is I have all of my news filters set for just the United States. Don't I? Oh, this is just US and Europe. Where is Canada? 5 filter. 2.25, and they did not move. Okay. The reason why I wanted to just look at that real quick is a lot of times the Canadians can front run the Fed, right? If the Canadians cut, a lot of times it indicates that the US Fed will cut as well. They kind of work together a little bit because the US and Canadian economy are so far interlinked. But we can also just do whatever the fuck we want. Man, this grind higher is just so annoying right now. Because we were trying to get long down at the bottom here. We were talking about longs down here. and then getting long, and we got long here, right? And then we got long here. We got stopped here. Jerks. The absorption, they're just breaking seller absorption. A pretty heavy print here. It's 175, right? This is up in that clean area. This low volume dip right here at 176. All right, this is also the spot where sellers came in heavily right on the close yesterday with really heavy absorption. So can you short this low? I don't like it. You're so far outside of value. This slow grind higher. Sellers have responded, but they're not taking the initiative to follow through and sell things lower. So you just had another buyer at 173 and a quarter, 173 and a quarter right here. And the last buyer before that was at 166 and 3/4, all the way down here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of hypothetical scenarios in which I would entertain an idea of getting short at the top of this composite range here at 170s. And kind of where this volume ledge is on the weekly distribution. I don't know. I don't know. Just like this whole move feels very precarious to me. Right? On good, strong, bullish moves, the volume is going to be found in the body of the candles and at the lows. Notice the repeated pattern here. Volume at the highs, volume at the highs, volume at the highs, volume at the highs, volume at the highs. Only here do you actually have bullish order flow. Everything else has been relatively bearish, except with this right here. That was the only like slight bullish movement you had. So this long, slow grinding movement was done primarily with a bearish order flow, which makes this a very precarious high, right? A bunch of volume comes in. I easily could see you go back to 155, right? But not, I want the flow to really tell me that it's changed. I want buyer absorption to be broken. I want to invert it and resist it on the other side. I would like maybe to violate this range here at 169. I want to start seeing more seller absorption at lower prices, right? I want to see quick rejections on any attempts to move higher, right? Because otherwise, this bullish flow that just came in here on the dip is just going to keep on holding you up. But in terms of this being a spot to buy, it doesn't matter how bullish the order flow would be right here. It'd have to be significant for me to take a long at this point, right? Because you're right at the top of this composite range. Like you don't find much volume up here. 170 to 180, there's not a lot of volume up here. Not a lot of people were interested in transacting here, so the market would not likely spend time there. So yeah, slightly bullish flow immediately followed by some bearish flow. But you're not really snapping down, right? You had a quick rejection here, but on the moves up, you're not quickly like you would suspect. Like any move up, quick snap down. You're not really getting it. You're not really getting the speed that you would like. But I need more range to develop to think this is a good shorting idea. All right, just based off this, if you thought of this very basically, price action, right? Lower, higher highs, lower highs, right? This is just like, this is the definition of a upward trending market. The problem becomes of where you are in the distribution, not only in this daily distribution, where you are in the weekly distribution, and the fact that most of this was done with bearish order flow. So this doesn't scream to me buy the dip at all. I'm kind of more looking at this moment to see if I can't get a good short back into value, because the volume has just steadily been decreasing as we've moved up. Right, on a good strong trend, volume is pretty much equal. Like the same volume that gets built here will get built here. Then you'll get another break and you'll get the same amount of volume that was built up here that it was down here. When you get this tapering volume, it's not good because the less participants are interested in taking prices this high. Like you're running out of steam for the buyers. I don't think this definitely is not a buy the dip type moment. I don't think. Why did my phone vibrate? Target notification. It's not Pokemon, fuckers. Not interested. Nope, not interested. I literally have a Target app just for Pokemon cards. Nothing else. So coming back to the top of this range, if you're bullish, you're probably going to see some resistance, some absorption, some bullish order flow come in here and lift things out. But somewhat bullish, bearish, neutral, bearish. Whole area is bearish. But you can't just blindly short this, because it's one thing to have bearish flow. If you can't move the price, it doesn't fucking matter. I can sell all day. If I'm not getting anywhere with my price movement, you better not follow me. $10.38, no, 173 and a quarter. That was the last buy. It was up here. But I mean, that was so much size this morning at 155 that came in and just got absorbed. I mean, that started our bullish bias right here, right? And this is where we first attempted to get long, right here. And then we got stopped at the 151. And then immediately saw some bearish order flow come back in here. But it wasn't until I think it was this so that we really entertained in the long in the break of this range, right? Because it came back in the top of the range from the seller absorption, resisted it with buyer absorption, wicked it, got quick rejections, and then that's when we got long again. Ideally for a short, you want it to develop a range, like a reference range that we can then resist. Like this isn't a clean range up here. And what I mean by range is like this, right? Where you have a swing high, a swing low, and then a swing low resists the swing high. That's a good definable range right there, right? This is the definable range low here. But is this the range high here? Right? This does look like it's the range low. So you are developing somewhat of a good reference point. So for me to entertain shorts, one, we do have absorption coming in at lower prices. We do have the buyers being broken. If we break the top of this range with a good amount of effort, attempt to come back up into this range and resist it heavily, then I was short, potentially looking for a move all the way back to the point of control. That's the scenario I envision, right? I want to break down or retest in this nice little low volume area right at the bottom of this range. That would make me confident in a short. Anything short of that, anything less than that, I don't think the trade is there. I mean, who really wants to trend this market right now, right? You're now within 3 hours of Fed, 3 hours and 15 minutes of Fed decision. And you want to start trending the market, and they could just come out with some wild surprise and just completely destroy your position. No, why don't you just wait? I got to imagine that's what a lot of institutions will do. And that's why we have not seen any large size, and we have not seen any really large size on the move up. There's been some buyers, right? But not a ton, not a ton of large volume this morning. Sellers absorbing lower prices. We're trying to push you down below this reference point. All right, so you're getting part of what we're looking for, but you got to stay down in here. You got to accept this prior range, and then you now need to become resistant to this upward range here. Not until those two things happen, that we get volume in here that keeps price within this range, and then the attempt to get back into this range that quickly gets rejected. If that happens, we're going to short it down to 155. But now we're also running out of time because it's 10:47, and I do have a hard stop at 11 this morning because I have to go get my hair cut. Oh, the demands. But you did break buyer absorption here. This isn't the greatest. Yeah, you're kind of back in the prior range. I mean, part of me really just wants to put on maybe just like a little piece here and then keep the stop up here at 174. Right? The risk to reward on this is pretty good. But let's see if we can resist this range here and this volume. Because I mean, this is all pretty much bearish volume within here. So that tells you, or that hints at, that this distribution node right here is a bearish position overall. But you did not resist it at all. The volume just lifted it and put you right back in there. So you didn't get this really the second part of what you were looking for, to potentially take a short on the idea that it's a ranged day for Fed, that the market's not going to really trend and imbalance. It's going to remain in balance. And the profitable trades are found in mean reversion from out of value back into value. So, I mean, maybe you got the second part of what you were looking for with that, but I mean, the US has spent $25 billion on the Iran war so far. Like $1 billion here, $1 billion there. It's just like, it's chump change to these people. It's so crazy. Buyers are trying to step in. This is a little bit of an inflection point right here. This volume right here at 167, this position, this volume node right here leans bullish. All right, this one leans bearish. This one leans bullish. You're now well within this prior range. You did not resist the top of this range at all. You tried to come back into this reference range and you kind of rejected it pretty cleanly. But you do have buyers stepping in. It's a pretty solid number, 200 contracts. It's nothing to sneeze at. So I'd be curious to see what happens, I think, here at 169, 170. You come up here and you wick it heavily with a good volume, bearish order flow coming in. I think we might take a stab at it. Oh god, it's 10:51 though. Like, I don't want to get into a trade and then have to sit here until like 11:15 or something. That'll be a disaster for my schedule today. Like, the volume that came in here lifted price, but didn't do a great job of it. All right, 200 contracts absorbed, but did you follow through? No, you did not. The volume that came in immediately thereafter pushed price back down. Right at that 169 level that we're kind of looking at, 169, 170. But to me, it looks like the volume's coming in right there. Yep. And the POC quickly moved as I said it. Right, these yellow bars are the POC of the 1 minute bars, right? That's where the majority of the volume came in at, and that's how I kind of gauge where bullish and bearish order flow is going. And volume lifts price, it's bullish. If volume depresses price, typically bearish. All else being equal, not considering any other factor. And this is not a very good breakdown. With all this bearish order flow up here, right? All the volume that was coming in, right, with suppressing price, I would have suspected that once you made this wick high, you attempted to get back in towards those highs and sellers came in. I would have suspected a pretty significant drop back down to value. You did not get that. So what does that tell you? Buyers are still active here out of value. Right? This is just a slow grind down. And you also kind of had a slow grind up. But the rate at which this is going does not scream bearish at all. I could be absolutely wrong, though. Absolutely. No one cares about Bank of Canada, guys. Just do not care. Do not care. 69. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, I can't fucking trade it. I can't do it. Scott, I can't do it. Yeah, because of timing. And I want you to make a better attempt at this 170. Like, I would like for you to touch 170 at least. And resist it. You resist it, you wick it, volume comes in at 170 and pushes you right back down. Short it. But that's my own opinion, not financial advice. But I will watch this for the remaining few minutes. I'm a little interested to see. Not just going to run away just yet. And ultimately, I think we finish down on the day because of that first trade. Even though the subsequent two were very small winners, but I think that first trade was a big enough loser that it'll be a down day. Oh well. It's Fed day. We didn't get aggressive, and it was a few dollars I think we lost today. Who cares? Now, you would want a quick rejection, right? You would want to test this range and then a bunch of volume to come in and quickly shoot it out. The longer you just hang here at the low of the range, the worse it gets for a bearish case. All right, this is the idea of time acceptance. The more you hang out in a certain area, the more generally accepted the participation is, and the less likely it is for you to be able to trade. So, I mean, that's probably enough to put on a little bit of a short position, right? Timing, I can't do it. And it gets, I mean, it's a very precarious short. I would not be loading heavily on this at all. I mean, I don't even know if you're going to make it back into value, to be honest. Just the way this has just been slow grinding down. The expectation with all this bearish order flow was that things were just going to fall off a cliff for you. Those institutions did not really buy this up. There was some size, but I mean, it wasn't gangbusters. All right, the last good size was at 160. And watch it just like absolutely break down within the 5 minutes. Like, oh, you could have taken that trade. Yeah, so your ultimate target for this is going to be the POC. But I think your first target for your short is actually 163, this low volume area and this swing low. Right, that 162.50 that we got fucked on right here. That's probably your first target, this low volume area right here. If you did short at 170. Or this volume came in right where I told you to be looking. Right at the bottom of this range. Right in the bottom of this little distribution right here. So there is some bullish flow here, right? Because we're talking about right here, there being some bullish volume. But I mean, the repetitive theme of bearish, 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 bullish, bullish, neutral to bullish, bearish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bearish, a little bullish, bearish, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, right? You've gotten the idea, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to see where our price is at 2 o'clock before the Fed. I probably will have my computer open. I don't plan on trading it though. I don't think I'll stream it or anything. Well, the Bank of England tomorrow. It should be good trading tomorrow and Friday. The 2 days after Fed decisions tend to be pretty wild. Like you can get markets trend one direction and then immediately trend in the other direction. Completely inverse trend moves. It's so crazy. But it's wonderful to trade because the risk reward opportunities are pretty large. You should get very large movements in short periods of time. None of this fucking slow grinding, balanced range nonsense. So sellers stepping in lower at the bottom of this range. They're holding you out. That's a pretty good absorption number. You're trying to break the buyers here. This is the buying volume right here that you need to be concerned about, whether or not you can break that. Your first target for your short, if you did go short at 170 that we're targeting, is going to be like 163-ish. If you're greedy, it's 155-ish. You know, who knows, you get all the way back down there. You could. It's Fed day. It's a balanced range type day. But I get the impression there is more business to be done in here just because of the shape of the distribution, right? You're starting to get a clean ledge, right? That's kind of matching the clean ledge up here on the weekly distribution, but the middle of this is just straight garbage. A lot of low volume clusters. And honestly, if you are short this, you're probably very uncomfortable doing so, right? Because this inability right now to get back into value. Bearish, slightly bullish, bearish, a little bullish, bearish. So the majority of the story is that it still remains bearish order flow. I gotta suspect at the time the Fed comes out today, we're going to be somewhere in here between 155 and 165, probably somewhere in here. The buyers are stepping in, trying to lift things, and they could just smash these sellers really quick with this inability to get back into the value area. Like if you're short, this isn't very comforting that you cannot get back in. All right, you're just rejecting, and this is such a slow rate of decline. It's just like it would take one good buyer here just to snap all of this. Right? You want to snap down below. You want to snap this volume here at 167. Oh, you're at such an inflection point. I hate to walk away right now. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible, 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 folks. All right, so maybe I'll turn a session on later this afternoon. I don't know. I'm definitely not trading it though, but it's always fun to watch the market movements and like what Powell will say. Yeah, so all right, best of luck to you guys. If I don't see you later, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning just before 9:30. Trade small, stay safe. Don't take large positions on Fed mornings. And just trying to get back into value here. Right, if the volume comes in and it keeps your price in the value, you might get that move. All right. And if you're short at the 170 here, I mean, you're definitely break even right now. Definitely want to move your stop to break even. And potentially add if price comes up to 167, 168, this, and resists heavily on volume and quickly rejects. But you want price to close down here first. This volume came in slightly below where this volume is. That's not very bullish. Still not very bullish. But again, if it comes up here and resists the lows of this range here, right at the value area high, short it again. And then still take the one piece off at 163 and another piece off at 155-ish, somewhere in there. Oh, well, not my trade, though. All right, guys. God bless you. Good luck. Catch you tomorrow.